Today we are tinfoil cooking, but in a very non-traditional way. We're gonna add a lot of beautiful, colorful, tasty veggies, and we're also going to cook a piece of wild Alaskan salmon alongside it. All in tinfoil, all on the coals. So let's get started. How's it going, everybody? I'm Mason, coming to you from the beautiful Grand Teton National Park. Shelly and I are in Gros Campground right now, just enjoying a beautiful day. On this episode of Picnic Peeps, we're gonna go a little bit deeper than normal into tinfoil cooking. The thing that I love about tinfoil cooking is that it's so scalable and so easy. Whether you're cooking for 25 people or you're just cooking for yourself, you just really need all of these ingredients that you want, wrap it up in tin foil, throw it on coals, and it comes out tasting delicious every time. Before you start, you really want to get your coals going. It'll take your coals probably 30 minutes at least, and they'll be ready for you by the time all of your packets are wrapped up. The ingredients that we're going to use today are some fingerling potatoes. I love fingerling potatoes so much. They're so rich and creamy and delicious. We're gonna use some fennel as well. Fennel will give it a touch of bitterness for some of the other ingredients that are a little bit sweeter to give you this nice balanced, delicious flavor. We're also gonna use some red onions, some baby bell peppers, some organic baby carrots, some fresh garlic, and then also some baby bell mushrooms as well as some shiitake mushrooms. You really don't need to overthink the prep all that much. The combination of kind of that direct heat from the bottom and then also steaming from the moisture that's inside of the vegetables already, everything cooks relatively evenly, so just don't overthink it. When I cut the fingerling potatoes, I just cut them right in half. For the fennel, I probably cut it about 1/4 to 1/8 inch, somewhere in there, and just some thin slices. So just half that bulb and then cut some thin slices. And of course, just use the white part of the bulb. If you get into the green part, you're gonna start to get, you know, a little bit more of a stemmy, rougher texture that's really difficult to cook away. For the red onions, I just cut them into these petal shapes. I like them a little bit more because they'll stay a nicer consistency and hopefully, you know, remain a touch crunchy as opposed to if you were to slice them very thin. Same thing for the bell peppers. Just kind of cut them in half again to give these nice kind of petal shapes. With the carrots, you know, I tried to choose smaller carrots. These are probably gonna cook slowest of everything that we have in the packet. So I just use small carrots and then cut them in half. If you do have a bigger carrot, don't fret too much. You can just cut it into 1/4 or 1/6. As long as they're all, you know, relatively small pieces, they'll cook through. And if they have a little bit of crunch, no worries. And in this bowl, I have 2 varieties of mushrooms. I just have some sliced baby bells and some sliced shiitakes. I just chose to do them sliced. If you want to quarter them, that's good too. Again, don't overthink the prep. It should all cook down beautifully for you. One other thing I want to say about prep is whenever you cut your potatoes and cut your fennel, you want to submerge them in water and maybe add a little bit of salt. The salt will help to draw out a touch of the bitter flavor in the fennel, and it'll also prevent the fennel and the potatoes from oxidizing and starting to turn a touch brown. So once you're ready to go and wrap up your packets, we'll just drain the potatoes and the fennel. The first thing I would say about wrapping your packets is to do a double layer of foil on the top and bottom. Hopefully my layers won't blow away. I'm gonna go ahead and take out 4 pieces of foil at once. They're blinding me. All right, so I have my 4 pieces of foil out. I really don't think it matters very much if you have the shiny side compared to the dull side, you know, down against the coals or facing the veggies. So don't worry too much about that. First thing I'll do is put a little bit of olive oil right on my surface. Just to make sure we got a little bit everywhere, I'll just take a paper towel and get that nice and even. I'm gonna start with the potatoes and fennel, because again, you really wanna cook that fennel well, and I'm gonna put about half of it down. So that's about half. Next, I'm gonna go with these veggies, and again, I'm only gonna wanna use about half. So I'm gonna start with the carrots, peppers. You could easily just mix the stuff all together and do some onions, some of that nice fresh garlic. All right, I'm gonna use that to even hold it down a little bit. Now that we're just about at the halfway mark, I'm gonna go ahead and do some seasoning. So I have a little bit of combined salt and pepper in here. So we'll drop the seasoning on there. Shelly and I like it a little spicy, so I'm gonna use some red pepper flake. If you wanted to put in a habanero, a jalapeno, a poblano, that's also a really good way to go. All right, that's already looking good. And then I should have my butter over here. So I'll just cut a couple pads of butter. And just throw those bad boys on there. This will just give it a little extra richness. It's not a necessary step by any means, but since we're going gourmet, let's add some butter. All right, so we're really kind of treating the mushrooms as the center of this piece, of this packet. So we'll put those guys in the center. I'm going to throw a little bit more seasoning on there. That's salt and pepper again, and then a little bit more crushed red pepper. And then we're gonna go backwards with our layer. So a little bit of red onion again, some of those delicious bell peppers, some baby carrots, some fresh garlic, and then we'll go back with the, go right on top with the fennel and the fingerling potatoes. All right, well, if at this point your dish looks like a delicious mess, you're doing it exactly right. So, now that we have that packet worked up, we'll just pull those other two from the bottom. So again, you have 2 layers of tin foil on the bottom, 2 layers of tin foil on top. And then I'll just kind of feel where my mound of food begins and ends and start to fold over. So the key here is really, to fold as many times and as tightly as you can, because you really want your packet to steam for quite a bit of time. So I will just continue on side by side and make sure I have this packet folded over. All right, so here's what I got. I got this nice tight pack. There's not a ton of air in here. I've made sure to push all of the air out of it. There's a little bit, it's not extremely tight. And again, don't stress it too much, but that's about what you want. So with this, we'll go on the coals. Once your coals are going and you're good to go, we'll just drop it on the bottom side, so to speak. So we folded it up, to the top side. So we'll call this the top, we'll call this the bottom. We'll drop that bottom on there and we'll let it go. It'll go for about 15 minutes or so before we flip it and start playing with it and start to check if it's done or not. But for now, drop it on there, set a timer, 15 minutes, look at your watch, and then we'll check it after 15 minutes. So next is the Alaskan king salmon portion of this meal. And it's just as simple as the packet of veggies that we just threw on the coals. It's just gonna take a little less time to cook. So what we'll do for that, again, is just pull out some tin foil. And I'm gonna do it slightly different this time. I'm actually just gonna do 2 sheets on the bottom, 1 sheet on top. All right, there's my third sheet. I'm gonna drop a touch of oil down. And I'm gonna go ahead and season the bottom. Season right against that oil. And salt and pepper and a little bit of crushed red pepper is all I did. I'm gonna drop the salmon right in the center there. Help it to work some of that oil around. And then I'm gonna throw some seasoning on that bad boy. Just go ahead and do the rest. And a little bit of crushed red pepper. All right. And then from there, I'll take my 1 sheet of aluminum foil. So again, 2 on the bottom, 1 sheet on top. Kind of make that nice silhouette. Whoop. Thank you. And we'll just make sure it's tight in there. And I didn't mention this before, but I put the skin side down on the 2 sheets of aluminum foil. So we got skin side down on the bottom and then the flesh side up. All right, so that will probably only take about 8 minutes on these hot coals, maybe even a little bit less. This thick of a piece, I'm guessing about 8 minutes. So we'll wait until we flip the potatoes, we'll check on those, and then we'll throw this on a little bit later. So next, we're going to just combine some ingredients that we're gonna mix with our tinfoil packet once it's done cooking. So I have some nice spicy arugula here. You know, even when it combines with the heat and the steam of the cooked ingredients from the tinfoil packet, that'll cook it just enough to where it'll be delicious. Next, I have some nice Parmesan cheese that's already shredded or sliced, really whatever you want, but a little bit of that salty Parmesan is gonna be delicious in there too. And then I also have a little bit of thyme. I just love the flavor of thyme. If you wanna add sage, if you wanna add parsley, cilantro, any other fresh herb, go ahead and do it. And then finally, I just have a little bit of dill to add to the salmon once it's done. The other thing that we'll add to the salmon is a little bit of fresh lemon and some lemon slices. So I'm gonna go ahead and prep just a few lemon slices. And then I'm also gonna cut a nice healthy piece that I'll squeeze onto it. And I'll be ready to go. The only other thing I'll probably add is a little bit of butter once we get closer to it being finished. So we're at our 15-minute mark and we are ready to flip this puppy. You can see that steam's starting to build up and it's created almost a pressure cooker. And if some of it's escaping out of one of your creases, if it's unfolded a little bit, don't worry. But if it's not, just keep it the way it is. Resist the urge to poke that thing and let the steam out. We will do that later, so don't you worry. All right, so I'm just gonna do my best to gently flop it. As you can see, I got a little bit of steam coming out, but no big deal. We'll let that sucker cook for probably another 10 minutes or so, and we'll just let it go, let it do its thing. We're probably about 8 minutes away from our tinfoil packet of potatoes being done. So I'm just going to throw on this piece of salmon. And again, we just want to throw the bottom or the skin side that's inside this packet. We're going to throw this right on top of those hot coals and let it go. While I was getting the coals going and cooking dinner, I started Shelly and I's campfire tonight. And that puppy is smoking pretty good right now. But now that we have about, 5 minutes left, I would say, we're gonna flip this packet back over and we're going to just cut a little crease in the center. And what that's gonna do, hopefully we're gonna cut a little crease in the center. And what that's gonna do is allow some of the steam to go and allow some of the direct heat to really hit those potatoes and some of those veggies, and it'll give you that nice char, that nice color on the bottom, a little bit of crispiness, and not really steam everything completely through. I mean, we've been steaming this now for almost 20 minutes, so it's going to be cooked. Now we just want to give it some of that nice crispy color and char flavor. We'll also flip our salmon while we're at it. All right, so up next, we are going to start to finish this salmon. So I'm just gonna flip this bad boy over, give it a feel, and just put a little cut down the center. Open it up a little bit. Open that puppy up. Oh yeah, you can see it is really cooking nicely in there. And I'm just gonna give it a nice squeeze of lemon on top. I'm gonna add a little sprig of dill, and then finally melt a little bit of butter on top. And now that it's been cooking for probably about 6 or 7 minutes, and I can tell that it's done just by giving it a touch and the flesh is starting to get firm, I'm gonna just set it off to the side and just let all of those juices just continue to work and let it continue to cook, but not necessarily over direct heat. All right, so now that these veggies have been cooking for about 15 minutes, and I can open them up and I can see that they've gotten some nice color to them, I'm gonna go ahead and take them off the fire, take them back to the picnic table, and finish them off with that arugula, that Parmesan, and the thyme. We've opened up the packet of potatoes and it looks phenomenal. There's so many beautiful colors in there. There's some nice char. The potatoes are nice and done. If you squeeze them a little bit, they have some give. So finally, now that we've opened them up and it's still nice and warm, what we'll do is we will add the arugula and the thyme and the Parmesan. Just add that in there. And it just looks like this beautiful salad. I'll give you a little look. Oh man, that thing is so sweet. So just again, the heat and the steam from the veggies are gonna just put this little wilt onto the arugula and melt that Parmesan down a little bit and make them beautiful. So I'm gonna go straight into our bowl. We're plating into this bowl today. And put a little bit of that at the bottom. Looks fantastic. And then this king salmon, I think I'm just gonna maybe half this guy a little bit. It's just so perfectly cooked and flaky right now. Drop that on top. Put a couple lemon slices on top to the side. And we are done. Tell me if that isn't the most beautiful plate of tinfoil cooked food you've ever seen. All right, now that we have it plated up, Shelly, come try it with me. I'm excited for it. The colors are just very vibrant. They're gorgeous. There's definitely a little bit of char to it, which is delicious. The lemon acidity plays into the fattiness of the salmon. The potatoes are cooked just really creamy. They go really well. The fennel still has a touch of crunch to it. The carrots have a crunch to it.
Ooh, the garlic is really good.
The Parmesan adds a little bit of savoriness. It's just such a fun, complex dish. So I hope you enjoy making it. Go out there, enjoy your time in the wilderness, enjoy your time camping, and experiment with some tinfoil cooking. We'll see you next time.